Mark Rogers TV with you late night Saturday night, early Sunday morning, tracking college football as number one and number two almost went down. Here we talk about the Oregon game with Washington State as the Ducks survive in Pullman against Wazoo 38-31. And yes, that was pass interference at the end of the game that denied Washington State to convert a 3rd and 14 play. And that was a blatant pass interference. If you didn't see it, go back and watch it. Right sideline, 3rd and 14, Washington State trailing by 7, driving the football down the field at the Oregon 35-yard line with a chance to tie it up late in the game with about 2.5 minutes left. Pass on the right sideline, and the defender wrapped up the wide receiver before the ball arrived. The ball was still in the air about 5 yards from the wide receiver, and it was a blatant pass interference. Still, you can't blame losses on one play. That would have converted, though, that play into a first down with Oregon backed up at its own 20, backed up on its heels of its own end zone with Washington State driving and with a chance to tie it up. But the Cougars go down for the 7th consecutive time. I believe that's the 8th straight loss, actually, for Washington State. I think they were 6-2, finished up at 6-7 last season after the bowl loss, and they've had all sorts of issues here in 2014, and they lose this one. But what a game by Connor Halliday. We highlight his performance first. 89 attempts last season against the Ducks, and Mike Leach knows that everything rides on this kid's right shoulder, but especially in trying to defeat a team like Oregon. So Washington State hates to run the football all the time, but they did it fairly effectively in this game. They ran 17 times for 63 yards. Take out Halliday's 1 carry for a -6, and you've got 16 attempts for 69 yards. So actually Washington State kept it on the ground a few times to try to run a little bit of time, and they found some running room. Again, for Washington State, this is superior ground work. 16 carries for 69 yards, but Halliday was the show. 43 of 63, 436 yards. So most of the stuff was underneath. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. In 63 attempts, no interceptions against a very fast, quick, opportunistic Oregon defense, of course. But we've got to question the Oregon defense after this game. Yes, they should remain in the top 2 or 3 in the country until they lose. We're going to see what they're made of when they have to play the Stanfords and the UCLAs in the Pac-12, and really the entirety of that Pac-12 schedule. But Oregon did not look good defensively in this game. Connor Halliday's an exceptional quarterback, and he made some great throws, some NFL quarterback type throws. I expect him to see time in the league here in a couple years. He's that type of quarterback. But it's a one-dimensional offense, as we point out, and Oregon could basically not stop Washington State, and they got some help from the refs. Also made some plays in the backfield, some penetration, and a sack to end Washington State's chances on a 4th and 14 play. So Oregon wins at 38-31, mostly due to Marcus Mariota, and he's got to be the front runner for the Heisman right now. My apologies at this point to Todd Gurley, with all due respect to the Georgia running back. This kid carries the Oregon offense. He saw pressure all night from Washington State. The Cougars had a good game plan in bringing the house. You bring the house and you risk embarrassment. You risk huge plays on the back end, but you bring the house and you try to wrap up Mariota, trap him in the pocket, and that's what they were able to do. 7 times they trapped him in the pocket or flagged him down from the backside. And Mariota, though, barely let the football hit the ground. 21 of 25, 329 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. And, of course, he provided the dual threat option at 13 carries for 58 yards. For Oregon, against a porous Washington State defense, where Paul James, we saw him in the opener for Rutgers, carried the mail for 180 yards rushing. For Oregon, Royce Freeman, 20 carries, 75 yards. Pedestrian, 3.8 yards per carry for Thomas Tyner, 6 for 24. Byron Marshall carried it just twice for 22 yards. So they held Oregon's running game in check for a 4.1 yard per carry average. So Oregon didn't protect Mariota that well. At times, again, the pass rush, and they brought kids off the edge to rush Mariota. So we understand that the pass production was outnumbered on the flanks much of the night, but 7 sacks given up. Didn't run the ball that effectively against a porous Washington State rush defense. So there are some cracks in the armor. Every good team has down nights, and if you can survive, especially on the road, that's a mark of a good team. We shall see how good Oregon is coming up. They looked that good against Michigan State, otherwise have not been challenged against the mop-up type schools on the schedule thus far, but they get a challenge on the road against Pullman, at Pullman against Washington State 38-31. Again, we're very impressed with Halliday once again on a 43 of 63 night. He is one of the best in college football, but Washington State goes down in this one for an 8th consecutive time, and Oregon breathes a sigh of relief, and they take it back to Eugene, an undefeated football team. Would love to hear what you have to say, not just about this game, but about Oregon's football team based on what you see tonight against Washington State and some of the flaws that may have shown up that can be taken advantage of by some better teams in the Pac-12. Let's talk about it right here on Mark Rogers TV.